Stevens here with Black Enterprise. I'm excited to be with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She represents Massachusetts' 7th Congressional District, and she has been sounding the alarm about Project 2025. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. Hello and welcome, Congresswoman.
Thank you so much for having me.
Delighted to have you here with our audience at Black Enterprise. We truly are. So let's get right into the conversation. Can you tell us just at a very high level, what is Project 2025?
Project 2025 is institutionalized Trumpism. It is a document that lays out what a Trump White House, a weaponized Trump Supreme Court and Department of Justice would mean for us. And ultimately, it means harm to every single person who calls this country home. It's a far right wing manifesto that is a policy and transition plan. This is not just a bucket list of wishes, because what we've learned from extremist Republicans is that they don't make threats, they make promises. It calls for a national ban on abortion. They say Dobbs is just the beginning. So that means they're also coming for birth control, contraceptive, coming for IVF, for mifepristone. They want to track pregnancies. They want to rename the Department of Health and Human Services the Department of Life. They want to ban our books, defund diversity, equity, and inclusion, ban the usage of even the words. It has serious implications for the federal government as we know it, for our democracy as we know it. They want to dismantle the Department of Education, defund critical Title I funding for K through 12 education, dismantle the Department of Consumer Protection, and I could go on. It is a damning, frightening look into what could be possible if Donald Trump is reelected.
There's a lot there. You're right. Thank you for sharing that with us. I have read parts of it myself, and it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot and can certainly be alarming as well. And for our audience here at Black Enterprise, Congresswoman Pressley, we'd love to know, what are some of the top impacts to Black Americans if Project 2025 were enacted?
Well, again, I'll start with, look, they've been enlisting as co-conspirators, these extremist Republican state legislatures and the Supreme Court in this extremist march towards a national ban on abortion. A national ban on abortion, a nation of forced birth, would have disparate impacts on Black women in that we still have a Black maternal morbidity crisis, regardless of socioeconomic status or education levels, that we are still 3 to 4 times more likely to die in childbirth or post-birthing complications. So a nation of forced birth is a frightening, frightening prospect. Also, a weaponized Department of Justice. We know very often we have experienced disparate justice. Justice has not been equal. And this is an emboldened Department of Justice under Donald Trump. You may recall in the final days of his presidency, they executed more people in 13 days than had been executed in the last 6 decades. And so they would ostensibly go into a murdering spree. I mean, I'm not being hyperbolic here. Again, a defunding of diversity, equity, and inclusion, a defunding of Title I, critical K through 12 funding. I fought very hard as the lead negotiator in the House for action on student debt cancellation, recognizing that it is a racial justice issue. And so there's more relief to come, but many Black borrowers have benefited from student debt cancellation. That work cannot continue if there is not a Department of Education. Mm-hmm. So those are just some of the things that I would lift. And of course, if you're defunding anything with diversity, equity, and inclusion, that means any of those programs targeted towards those businesses historically underserved, which are our businesses, would not have a small business administration that sees them, that invests in them, and that lifts them up.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned that as well. Not only are the ramifications, broad for just Black people, but also Black businesses as well. That's a really big deal. Tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing on the Stop Project 2025 task force.
Yeah, so I'm a founding member of the Stop Project 2025 task force, and the aim of it is really to leverage every tool of congressional oversight and authority to ensure that people are aware of this policy and transition plan laid out in Project 2025, again, which is institutionalized Trumpism. So we're hosting briefings and meetings, hearings. I think sunlight is the best disinfectant, and we need to make sure that people understand just how harmful this would be. And for Black America, banning Black and African American history from our classrooms, cutting Social Security and Medicare benefits that Black Americans have earned, eliminating anti-discrimination rules in housing, expanding the police state by sending federal troops into cities with Black district attorneys, worsening, as I said, the Black maternal mortality crisis by eliminating access to reproductive care. And again, it would also harm student borrowers. Black students borrow and default at higher rates. And so to not have the relief of the student debt cancellation we fought so hard for. So it is a frightening, the picture that they're painting is a frightening one. And like I said, they don't make threats, they make promises. And so the point of this task force is to make sure that people are aware.
Got it. To make sure that people are aware. So for us, for the people, and for our audience here at Black Enterprise, what is the call to action for us regarding this manifesto?
Well, we have to do everything to ensure that it not become a reality, that this manifesto is not made manifest, because not only does it have severe implications on the federal government and our democracy as we know it, it also implicates the Supreme Court, a Supreme Court that we have already seen weaponized, that is in dire need of a binding code of ethics, thorough investigations into any impropriety, of which there has been much. We need to expand that bench, because this Supreme Court has been operating in the absence of justice, legislating from the bench and overturning the will of the majority of the people. And the reason why I want to bring the Supreme Court into this is because the same mega donors purchasing lavish gifts to influence Justice Thomas and Alito are the same mega donors working with the Heritage Foundation to produce this manifesto, this policy and transition plan. So the only thing that what we need to do to make sure that this manifesto does not become manifest is we need to elect Kamala Harris as our president. We cannot afford a Trump White House and a weaponized Trump Supreme Court. So we have to elect Kamala Harris because I know that instead of an agenda that is anti-woman, worker, immigrant, undemocratic, she will help us to build that more just America. Project 2025 wants to take us back. Kamala Harris wants to take us into the future. She will center the humanity and the dignity of every person that calls this country home. And I mean every person, because Project 2025 also calls for mass incarceration and deportation of immigrants. And I've worked very closely with our vice president when she was a senator and a member of the Congressional Black Caucus on issues of maternal justice, on voting rights, on student debt cancellation, on the racial wealth gap. She sits at that intersectionality as a woman, as a Black woman, and will bring that lens, the confluence of her experiences, both personally and professionally, as a former attorney general, as a former United States senator, as a vice president, and now as our president.
Got it. I'm glad that you mentioned Vice President Harris. As I can see, you've already been out on the campaign trail. What are you hearing and seeing and feeling as you're out spreading the word for folks to vote for her?
Yes, my vigorous support and endorsement, because I'm confident that she can build the diverse coalition that we need to win in November. Just returning from Pennsylvania and what I saw and observed on the ground there, just incredible enthusiasm, incredible momentum, incredible excitement, but also people expending a lot of sweat equity. People were coming back from knocking doors already, and we're just 10 days in. I mean, we're still building the infrastructure of a national organization. And there were many Republicans who said that they're going to vote Democrat, they're going to vote for Kamala. Also, as I was just in my conversations anecdotally observing, previously we were concerned about an enthusiasm gap, especially with 18 to 35-year-olds. And I heard from so many young people that some of them are voting for the first time and can't wait to vote for Kamala. Some of them had planned to sit this one out, and now they are all in. And that they said what they love about Kamala is that she's future focused, that they feel more hopeful than they felt in a long time, that they were using words like joy, that this movement feels joy fueled and joy filled. They feel hopeful, and she's future focused. And so it was just incredible to bear witness to that. We're only, 10 or 12 days in, less than 100 days left, while Kamala Harris is out there working to earn the confidence, support, and the partnership of the electorate, and to earn this nomination. I have every confidence in her ability to put together the winning coalition. There is a new electoral map. There is a new battle map that is emerging in real time based on her resonance with the diversity of so many people, women from every walk of life, from every racial and ethnic group, every age. I talked to a number of senior white women in particular who have been participating in Zooms and loving that. And they said, I'm not going to close my eyes on this earth, having not played a role in electing the first woman president. And you just heard that over and over again. This is our opportunity to be a part of something important, significant, meaningful, transformational, all the things that they believe that they'll have with Kamala Harris as our next president.
Got it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And lastly, what's the call to action for those who might not be sure of where they're going to land on election day?
Well, do your homework. I mean, again, Project 2025 is as much as that is what we don't want, and we have to do everything in the resistance work to ensure that that manifesto does not become manifest. Just recognize that voting is an act of self-care. Sometimes it's harm reduction, it's self-preservation, and we don't elect saviors. You are electing a partner. So who would you like to partner with? And even if you don't agree on everything, part of partnership is accountability. So I've worked very closely with this administration, and I've pushed them on a lot of things as well. So those are all things to keep in mind. But for me, the stakes could not be plainer or higher, the contrast more stark. Institutionalized Trumpism in Project 2025. These folks don't make threats, they make promises. A Trump White House, a weaponized Department of Justice, a weaponized Supreme Court is about taking us backwards. Kamala Harris will take us into the future and build that more just America that sees and centers the dignity and the humanity of every person that calls this country home. Project 2025 wants to control every aspect of your life. It's ironic because they pretend that they're the party of freedom, but they actually want to control every aspect of your life, from your bedroom to your womb, where a Kamala Harris presidency is about the future and about your freedoms. It's about building on the freedoms that we have earned and expanding them.
As we wrap up, Congresswoman Pressley, you recently honored the life of the late Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and you shared that in one of your last exchanges, she said, keep working on our priorities. We cannot give up. So can you tell us what are some of those priorities that you'll be focusing on this legislative session?
Absolutely. I just have to take a moment there to pause. Sheila Jackson Lee. My goodness, as I said in my floor statement, if you don't know her, you should. But if you don't, know that you have benefited from her advocacy. Just to continue to do the work of repair. I mean, of course, she led HR 40, the reparations study bill. But I see the work of reparations in everything that I do, because not one bill. Only one bill will not undo centuries of harm. It's going to take an omnibus, all right? And so I see the work of student debt cancellation, that Black students borrow and default at higher rates because we've been locked out of every major federal relief program in this country. We have gains in income, but not in wealth. So I see continuing to advance the work of broad-based student debt cancellation. That is a priority of mine. My baby bonds legislation with Senator Cory Booker, which will create a seed account of $1,000. And depending on where you fall in the socioeconomic bracket, it's targeting our lowest socioeconomic individuals. The Treasury will pay into that account over 18 years. At 18 years, you can withdraw those funds to purchase a home, start a business, or to pursue higher education. It has been adopted by many states already in the country. Illinois, Connecticut, Massachusetts is piloting something, California, but it hasn't passed federally yet. So that's the American Opportunity Accounts Act, or baby bonds. And then, of course, the Women's Health Protection Act, of which I'm a co-lead. It's very important to me that passed the House, that it passed the Senate and be signed into law by President Harris to codify Roe at the federal level. So those are some of the things that I would lift up. My bill to abolish the federal death penalty is also top of mind for me. And I was recently appointed to the bipartisan task force on artificial intelligence. So I'll be leaning in a great deal there to monitor the implications on the future of work, but also in my role in the financial services committee to make sure that disparities in lending are not exacerbated in other ways in which, given the biases that exist in our algorithms, that AI could perpetuate those things.
Got it. Lots of important work happening. Lots of important work happening. Indeed. Well, listen.
And the Crown Act.
And the Crown
And
Act.
the Crown Act. We can't forget the Crown Act.
We not forget.
Yeah,
Yes,
we have to ban race-based hair discrimination in the workplace and in our schools. That's another bill that's gotten traction in our states, but we have yet to pass federally.
Got it. We certainly, as you would listen, we can both relate. We certainly hope there's movement on the Crown Act.
Braids and baldies, let's go.
That's it. Braids and baldies. Love it, love it, love it. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, thank you so much for being here with our audience here at Black Enterprise and for sharing the latest happenings on Project 2025 and also your momentum and support behind Vice President Kamala Harris in her run for president. Thank you.
Thank you.